Ooh, is this new? But you didn't tell me about this.
Yeah, it's
cool. Why is
cool.
this only for your video? Why do you get the cool stuff? I'm serious.
Hey, honey, talk about it on your channel.
I will talk about it on my channel.
I am your wife. I am
Peace
the
out.
greatest good you ever got.
Amish out.
That's why I don't film with you in the room. Go check her out. Gunning Gal. No, Alyssa Seymour. She doesn't go by Gunning Gal on here. So, how much should you spend on an AR-15? What AR-15 should you buy, and what should you not buy? We're going to get into that topic today. It's going to be an interesting episode. And just to give you guys my background, I've been in the firearms industry for a while now. No military, no LEO experience, just an enthusiastic shooter. I'm not going to fib or steal any valor here, guys. There's no need for that. Been fortunate enough to train with some of the best, I consider some of the best, through filming, through videography. I've been able to be connected in the industry for a long, long time now. Worked for many companies as a videographer, cinematographer, DP, creative director, that kind of stuff. So I've been in the space, mostly in the marketing field. Been shooting a lot, started shooting competition this year, mainly pistols, USPSA, but I've definitely been through a lot of training courses, been around the block, we'll say. But yeah, I'm an enthusiast, shooter enthusiast, 2A advocate, fun haver. I enjoy the aesthetics of firearms. What can I say? Anyway, let's talk shop. So, AR-15s, how much should you spend on it? And which one should you buy? Which one should you avoid? So first of all, I'd like to dissect this and put this into three categories. Those who have AR-15s and have experienced AR-15s and are looking for another AR-15. Those who are new to AR-15s and this is the first rifle they're ever going to buy or first serious firearm purchase that they're going to buy. And then those who have a special purpose or special need, be that night vision, hunting, apocalyptic scenario, precision shooting, competition, but you're looking for an AR-15 that's very specialized. So there's kind of three categories in my mind of people looking to buy AR-15s essentially. So subsequently, we have our three different buyer types of AR-15s. Self-identify with one of those if you will. I also think of AR-15s in three different categories. You have your cheap and basic. These are your run-of-the-mill AR-15s. Let's talk about this one. This is a Davidson Defense. Basic AR-15, no ambi controls. It's got your basic charging handle. It is just an AR-15. Some parts wobble, some pieces aren't specialized. You know, it's got the cheapest parts you can find. It's rough and raw and rugged, and the steel feels like it's just untreated. You know, that kind of stuff. So you've got your basic run-of-the-mill AR-15s. This category would generally be $1,000 and below. I wouldn't trust anything below $500, so I'm going to cap it at $500 and say $500 to $1,000 is your cheap and basic, no special bells or whistles, no ambi controls, no modern amenities. This is just classic tried and true AR-15s. And then you have your mid-tier or middle-class AR-15. These are for you people who have jobs, for you people who are out there providing for your families, have respectable wages. I put this category at probably around the $1,000 to $2,000. I'd say above $2,000, you're in kind of a different territory, different tax bracket, we'll say. But your middle-class AR, we'll call it middle-class income AR-15, MCI for short. Now, a good middle-class income rifle example would actually be this Griffin Armament. This is their Mod 2 Griffin Armament, tried and true, direct impingement system, very reliable gun. We tested this on Alyssa's channel. But yeah, this is your, $1,500 mid-tier rifle. It's got some bells and whistles like ambi controls, bolt release, it's got reliability, it's got a good brand name behind it. This thing is a pin and welded, it's 14 or maybe 13 inch, a suppressor mounting system there. But it's just a good general purpose rifle. This will be good for decent for CQB, decent for mid-range out to probably about 300, 400 yards. If you're super accurate, get a scope on it, maybe 500. But your target shooting that point, just kind of good generic rifle, general purpose GPR rifle. Nothing specialized about it. Now let's talk about bougie class. Bougie class is my favorite class. That's the class I like to fuck around with. Bougie class. So bougie class is all about the gram, guys. We're all about Instagram, looking cool, looking fly and operator, high speed. Bougie class, you'll see something like this HK MR556A4. Bougie class, just to be specific about it, is anything above $2,000. This right here is around $3,500 to $4,000 as the base rifle, but it is a tactical games rifle setup. So this is what my wife runs in tactical games competitions. It's already beat up and dirty, but what makes these rifles unique is that they're generally special purpose. What makes, this gun, for example, the HK416 special, it's got a piston system, it's got adjustable gas block, it's ambient controls, of course. HK, you're paying for the brand name there. It's got extreme reliability, and it's got sub-MOA accuracy out of an 11-inch barrel with pretty much most of the ammo that we've thrown at it. And it has a guarantee, a lifetime guarantee. So if this gun ever loses its sub-MOA accuracy, I can just send the upper out, get it rebarreled by HK, and have a new sub-MOA gun. That's super special. A lot of people on Alyssa's video, the review of this thing, were like, I could build a 416 for $100 and make it just as good on a PSA lower. Sure you can. I'm sure you can, but you know what? What you can't beat is HK's reliability and how they stand behind their product, in the fact that I can shoot the heck out of this thing and pretty much send it in, get it fresh and new all over again. And there's no limitation to that. That's pretty extreme, and that's pretty reasonable for the price especially. So, you can build a rifle, but you can't build the company. That's for damn sure. So special purpose means they've got an X factor to them. There's something unique about the gun. These are rifles that are built for competition shooting, precision shooting, really specific purposes or niches. They'll have different gas operating systems rather than a DI. They'll be piston driven, for example. On this one, we have a unique buffer system in the JP Silent Capture Spring system. So there's added components to these special purpose rifles that make them a little bit more unique. They may be catered to suppressors, they may be catered to hunting, they may be catered to, like I said, PRS or competition. They may be catered to super duper reliability. You can have a reliable AR-15 for under $1,000. Oh, and one more shout out, because I think it's relevant, is like something like a Q. Q Honey Badger, very expensive AR-15, but again, they are built to be extremely lightweight and in some cases, not all cases, but extremely lightweight and compact. They probably are the lightest reliable AR-15 out there that has a big brand recognition. Definitely using premium components, Geisley triggers, super lightweight parts, unique stocks and braces, and even a suppressor host and lineup. So Q's another example of like a specialty rifle in a no budget limit scenario. So we've gone over buyer types and we've gone over categories. So how much should you spend on an AR-15? Well, if you come to me and you ask that question, what I will ask back to you is this your first AR-15? If your answer is yes, then what I would actually suggest to you, in all honesty, is to not spend more than $1,000. And the reason being is you can find reliable AR-15s that are going to do everything you need them to do for under $1,000. You don't need the bells and whistles, and you probably shouldn't have all the bells and whistles, because you need to go down a journey and figure out what you need, what you like, and what you don't like. If you've got the time and the world's not ending tomorrow, I would use it to figure out what do you like in an AR-15, what don't you like. So start out with something cheap. I can't speak to reliability because we haven't shot this much, but this, for example, is a Davidson Defense AR-15, about $500. But something like this, akin to this, a cheap AR-15 that has a good reputation, look on Reddit, or we'll have a review on this soon if it runs. Can't speak to it yet, won't recommend it or not recommend it. But there are certain guns out there. Ruger, we've had a Ruger AR-15, I think it was the MPR556 or something like that. Did pretty well for us, so there's tons of examples out there used as well. You can always look on the used market for cheap AR-15s. Now again, why do I want you to start there? It's because I want you to figure out what your baseline is, the bare bones, and then work your way up. Let's say you want ambi controls and that's something that's important to you. Well, now you can look at a rifle that has that feature. Or you want a piston system because you're shooting suppressed and you hate the gas blow back to your face. Or you want something cool for the Instagram. You want this little cool $450 stock, like there's certain things that you'll find out as you go down the rabbit hole. you'll start to imagine what the perfect AR-15 is for you. I recommend always to try your buddy's guns. If you can, if you got friends, go try out their AR-15s. Go try out something that's really bougie, maybe at the range or something like that. See if somebody at the range has something really nice that they'd love to share or whatever, can talk you into. But get a feel for these things. Don't just go out there blindly off of a YouTube recommendation that you saw, was probably paid for, and just kind of order it blind, right? Get your hands on as many AR-15s as possible. Start with the bare minimum of the basic necessities, and then slowly work your way up as you develop a taste for what you like and don't like. Now, second category of buyer, if you're just looking for another AR-15, you're an enthusiast, you're like me, this is kind of the category I fall into. How much should you spend? Well, it really depends on what you want, right? For me, I have AR-15s that are set up for like night vision, or I have AR-15s that are set up for competition. I have AR-15s that are not set up. This is a good example right here. This is a specialty AR-15 upper. Specialty, why? Because it's side charging, it doesn't have the T-charging handle. This is a BRN 180 from Brownells. So to me, I want to do a dedicated build on this. It's probably going to be a $3,000 gun when I'm all said and done with it, but it has a special purpose in that I like ergonomics of a side charger, not the ergonomics of the T-charging handle. So for that reason alone, I'm going to be spending more just because it's different, it's unique, it's a proprietary thing. But it really depends on what you're after, what you're looking for, guys. If you're kind of like don't know what you're looking for and you got money burning a hole in your pocket, well then you really shouldn't spend that much. You should probably go back to step one, but figure out what you want first and what you're going to be building the rifle to do, and then go spend it. But there's really no budget cap for you, I'll say. It really depends on how much do you have. Now, I will say that performance starts to taper off after $2,000. Rifles that are more than $2,000 do not generally see a performance increase related to price. Best value guns are within that $1,500 range to $2,000 range, meaning you get features, you get some specialty purpose things like adjustable gas blocks or maybe even piston systems for PWS, for example. Those are under $2,000 on sales often. I have a PWS right here actually. And they're MOA guns. Really good, has some specialty purposes or specialty usages, but also kind of a general purpose rifle. It is a long stroke piston system. It's got ambidextrous controls. It's pretty great, super reliable, great company reputation. So yeah, you can start getting into really good guns at around the $1,500 mark, and I think it tapers off after 2000. After 2000, it's really starting to get super nitpicky, and you're only buying those guns for a specialty reason or the name brand. And that leads us into buyer type number 3. If you're buyer type number 3 and you need a specialty rifle, you can expect to pay more than $2,000. If you're looking for a special purpose rifle, SPRs or whatever it is, and I know SPRs are typically thought of as like long range guns. I'm going to use the term incorrectly here. I'm going to call special purpose rifles just something that's special about them, like the BRN, for example, right? Or the Q, the Honey Badger Q. Something special or unique about that gun that it does differently than any other gun out there. At the $2,000 plus mark, you're really looking at guns that have some sort of special thing about them. That all kind of plays a factor, and that depends on what you're using the rifle for and what you need it for. You're going to be spending a little bit more, but hey, if you have those special needs or purposes or whatever, we all have special needs, let's be honest. If you're looking into night vision setups or whatever, you're going to be spending a lot of money. You're in it to win it at this point, so there's really no cap to your budget. But I'd say, again, performance pretty much tapers off after $2,000, meaning the leaps aren't that big in regards to performance and pricing. Actually, let's use a real example here. So a good example is a VKTR, which is around $2,500, $2,200, and a HK MR556A4. I love HK MR556A4. Trust me, I love HK. I love German guns. I think Europeans make some of the best guns. I'm a shill for them. I love it. But this is not worth $1,000 in performance difference over the VKTR. The VKTR, again, 2200 to 2500. This around 35 to 4000. You do not see that huge of a performance increase in either of these guns. They're both short stroke gas piston systems. They both have ambidextrous controls. They're both AR-15s. I get sub MOA out of this, but I get pretty close to MOA out of this gun, which we got to do some more testing with, but we're seeing so far pretty much around the MOA grouping, which is really nice. Performance-wise, they're like identical. We shot these back to back and they're pretty identical. I do like HK because of the brand name. VKTR, I'm starting to really like because of the value. But yeah, this is a great example of two different rifles at $1,000 differences with not a huge amount of differentiating factors in them. This has a few things about it that make it specialty. This is more of a general purpose rifle, hovering right above the $2,000 range, so kind of that sweet spot of performance and price. It's a really good value, I think, for what you're getting. And then there's kind of an X factor to all of this, guys. If you're an enthusiast shooter and you're doing this because you just want to, I think that's more important. If I'm being honest, I think that's more important than any other factor out there. And the reason why is because somebody who's passionate about something and actually enjoys what they're doing is going to do that thing more than somebody who does it for work or does it for X purpose, but it's not what they would be doing, right? I'd rather you enjoy your guns and enjoy your time at the range than feel like it's a chore or something that you have to do to impress others. A person who enjoys what they do will outcompete anyone who does it because they have to. That's true. When kind of summarizing this, how much should you spend on an AR-15? You know, it really depends on what are you passionate about. You know, I gave you my recommendations just from a logical standpoint, but sometimes you do purchase decisions that aren't logical, and that's okay. I'd rather you enjoy what you buy than feel like you were misled or bullied into a decision. A lot of people will bully people in this industry to buy something because it's what they're passionate about, really what you shouldn't have bought because you don't care about it. You know, I may be passionate about the APC-223 and think it's the best rifle out there because I genuinely love Swiss guns, its performance, whatever, but objectively it's not the best gun out there. I think AR-15s are, but it doesn't matter because I want to shoot this more than I want to shoot this, right? So I'm going to be way more competent in this because this is the gun I take out the most rather than this, which is great for IG, but you know, it's like it piques my tism, you know? So that's what's super important in all of this in your buying decision. You know, whatever gets you interested and gets you out to the range, that's what you ultimately should be buying. And it may cost $4,000 or it may cost $500. You know, just know there's some trade-offs you're going to be playing with, and be educated about those decisions when going into it. I recommend researching not just YouTube reviews. It's got to be up to you. You can take what I said as guidance or as kind of suggestion, and then also research things like Reddit and what other people say, what end users say, because that's super important. But after all of this, guys, I'm going to give you some recommendations on guns that I recommend on AR-15s that I like and have personally used or have had friends that generally love theirs, friends that I trust. And then I'm going to give you recommendations of what to avoid, which I think is super important and not talked about on YouTube because everyone tries to be buddy-buddy with everyone. I want to be buddy-buddy with everyone, but I'm going to be honest, and I'd like to see these companies improve, so I think it's a good opportunity if you are watching this and you're one of the companies listed to listen to what I have to say and why I don't currently recommend you. Let's get into it, which, by the way, I don't think anyone's watching these. I got maybe 100 viewers. Shout out to you guys. So let's go into this. Brands I would recommend for different price points. $1,000 and less, I'd recommend Ruger and Smith & Wesson. Those are the only two brands that I've personally tried or have heard good things about generally. There are more, I'm sure, but I'm only going to put my name behind things that I at least have a 90% accuracy guarantee on. So Ruger, Smith & Wesson, personally shot both of those and have heard good things about them. Number two, this is the $1,000 to $2,000 category. Griffin, got that. PWS, got that. I've had two PWSs at this point. Daniel Defense, I've had a couple Daniels, and they a little bit spendy for what they are, but reputation's there. They're a solid gun, not gonna fail you. BCM, solid choice always. They've got a lot of sales. And Geisley does a lot of seasonal promotions, so wait for those. You'll often find Geisleys under the $2,000 mark, which is great. Or right around that $2,000 mark. Okay, now for top tier, this is where I play around in. This is where I have a little bit of fun, but HK, for all the reasons mentioned before, brand name, you're paying for that, obviously. The company's policies on their QC and making sure that you have a sub-MOA gun, even though it's 11-inch barrels, pretty amazing. The best AR-15 I've ever owned. Is it worth it? If you got the money, you got the money. If you don't, you're not going to miss anything by going to like a VKTR or something like that, which is second on the list. VKTR, we're really impressed with that gun so far. New company, but super impressed with it. So can't give a full recommendation on Q, but so far everyone pretty much likes their Q. Q has a fanatic fan base for a reason. Lightweight specialty rifles, that's kind of cool. And then Radian, this is a Radian lower. I've had a Radian Model 1 before a pistol, and then I bought this lower after that pistol. Really like it. Its specialty features, that mag release. Alyssa's talked about it on her channel. Really good guns, super heavy though, super expensive. MOA accuracy guarantee, which is cool. So I really do like seeing that at a higher echelon of price. Now, brands I don't recommend at any price point. This one's gonna be troublesome because I like PSA. There you go, there's the name. But the first PSA gun I've ever had has had nothing but issues. And that's unfortunate. So we've been trying to get this crank to work, and it's an AK. AKs have been known to be cheap, reliable, and unfortunately, I have not had that thing cycle properly to this point, or at least cycle through full mag without issues at this point. Working through PSA with that, for full disclosure, they did send that out. We were going to do some videos and promo for them, and I thought, you know, I like what PSA is doing. They come out with some unique guns. They're serving the community. But as an end user, I haven't had the best luck, and if you look on Reddit, you'll see a lot of stories that are similar to mine, and so for that reason, I don't think I'd recommend them entirely. I still love what they're doing, but until the QC improves, until I get a working gun or see what it's about, you know, even then, I think, you know, it's kind of at this point, but it is what it is. Again, I think QC needs to be tightened up. Okay. Noveski. Noveski is another company. Cool guns. They seem to have a great reputation, and then all of a sudden, things started to get a little wishy-washy. So a couple friends of mine have had issues, and then Juicy Media, if you haven't seen his video on it, we trust Juicy. Been watching the guy for a while now. Trust his opinion on pretty much most products, but he's had an issues, quite a few issues with Noveski. Worth a watch. Again, Juicy Media, go check it out. But also, personally have had 2 friends with issues with Noveskis, unfortunately. So I haven't personally purchased a Noveski. I admire the brand as far as the looks go, and it's one of those cool hip skater brands, but they seem to have fallen off in Department of QC, and that's going to take some time to earn back recommendations, at least for me, if that matters at all. Arrow right now is just, it's a long story, but the long short of it is their QC again has slipped because they've had a problematic cycle of money, let's just say. So Arrow is no longer recommended by most people, including me. I think their old stuff was great. It was great budget, great bang for your buck. It was kind of up there with BCM. But in the last 3 years, probably around since COVID, honestly, they just have been falling down a slippery slope, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they bounce back. They were a great budget brand, great bang for your buck brand, and would love to see them kind of earn that reputation back. All right, next one, Anderson, or affectionately known as Poverty Pony. Now, Poverty Pony, unfortunately, is sold, and now I think under Ruger, so they're no longer a thing, and I wouldn't buy their guns because you can't get them serviced at this point. So that company, it's a mystery as to what's going to happen to it. You know, it was sold, so it's no longer a company anymore. So if you bought an Anderson, who's to know if you got a good QC, and who's to know if you can send it for warranty? You can't. So I wouldn't recommend Anderson at this point. But if you do buy one, it's a collector piece now. So congratulations. F1, just don't. I mean, just don't. Sorry guys, if you like F1. I mean, they're cool art pieces, but man, I wouldn't. Bear Creek Arsenal, they've had tons of complaints on Reddit, tons of complaints from friends that have had experience with Bear Creek, seen or heard of a lot of issues with those guys, so something pretty simple, just probably wouldn't recommend. And finally, SIG. Now, it has nothing to do with their rifles, it has everything to do with how they're handling the P320 situations. We haven't seen gaslighting like this since the Epstein files, and it's quite impressive, honestly. It's amazing. The marketing department there doubled down and tripled down at this point. I do like their guns, not their pistols. Haven't been impressed with any SIG pistol at this point. To be honest, I'm just being honest. I like the chassis system, the flux, amazing, all that stuff. Cool. Now, if I was SIG right now, what I would do is honestly start importing 5.53s from Switzerland, and that would save everything. That would be, I would stop asking questions about the P320. If they start importing the 5.53, the 550 series, the 5.63s, they start importing those from Switzerland, maybe do a little thing so that way they, you know, fit whatever regulation they need to do to make them in the States, whatever it is. They start doing those things, they start production of that here in the States, I'll forgive them. Maybe not forgive them, but, you know, at a certain point, there are things I would do for a SIG 5.53, guys. It's kind of like a Klondike bar. That is my Klondike bar. If you guys have followed Alyssa along, you'll know how much she wants one. But until then, you know, I just probably wouldn't recommend SIG right now. Just let it cool off. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was probably super informative in the beginning, and then I rambled and teetered off. But if you made it to this end, God bless you. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. This is a new channel, trying my own thing. There's like a few hundred of you that are watching this, which is really cool. It stokes me out. But yeah, hoping to get 1,000 subscribers. Put some arbitrary goal out there. Maybe like the button, hit that button down there. You know, do all those YouTuber things. Share on Instagram. That would be cool. Tag me if you do. You know, it'd be really cool if you started shit in the comments. You know, like said, you suck, your beard's not cool, you know, you don't have a military career, therefore gay, that kind of thing. That would be really cool if you did that in the comments. I know I would love it. YouTube would love it. Your parents would love it. Your mom would love it. And let's get this video to 1 billion likes. If I get 1 billion likes, I will do unspeakable things. Notice my eyes made contact with the suppressor at that point. Unspeakable things.